Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Moving Markets Podcast. It is Tuesday, June the 10th, 2025. This is Jeffrey Dunyon, owner and founder of Safe Option Strategies. Glad to have you on board this morning. U.S. stock market has been open for about 25 minutes. I am starting a little bit early today. Hopefully, if you were watching Discord channel, you saw that notification and had a chance to get on. Usually I'm starting 30 minutes after the market opens. Had to get a little bit of an early start this morning because I've got a few things going on this morning. So here we are about 25 minutes into the trading day, and the Dow Jones Industrial average down a little bit. On my TV in front of me, this shows 14 points. I show about 25 points to the downside. NASDAQ is up a little bit, and the S&P 500 up a fraction. I would say, the Dow is incredibly flat because it has been in positive territory off and on already this morning. S&P and NASDAQ both up a little bit. The markets are relatively slow this morning and relatively flat, primarily because people are kind of waiting to hear, is there good positive news coming out of these U.S.-China trade talks? For another trading day, yesterday was an example of this, and for a second trading day in a row, the markets seem to be shrugging off the situation going on in L.A. and in a couple of other places where there are some riots going on, over the deportation and immigration stuff. Hopefully we don't get into a situation where those escalate to the point where they do have a dramatic impact on the market. It may be impossible, if this continues over the next few days, to not see a little bit of an impact on the market, but I'm hopeful that things are quelled in a way that is, is kind of anticlimactic. It would be nice to see it all sort of dissolve and us be able to look and say, okay, it wasn't that big a deal. Some things got a little bit out of hand for a short period of time, and now it seems okay. That's what my hope is. We'll see if that actually happens or not. But so far, so good. I'm not going to talk much more about what's going on today for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's early in the day, and number two, I don't think a lot more is going to happen today. Let's talk a little bit about what's coming up the rest of this week. The CPI report is tomorrow morning. If you follow the triple play trades, the diamond long iron condor that we put on is specifically to take advantage of CPI and PPI. And the hope is, I hope that those reports are good and that we get another leg up on the market, but we're positioned such that it doesn't matter. If we get a real big move to the upside because of a good CPI, good PPI report, good meaning inflation is continuing to come down and continuing to ease a little bit, that's great. If we get bad news, if inflation is ticking back up, there is worry that the tariff situation and the tariff stuff going on could cause inflation to be going back up. And if that were to happen, then obviously you could see the market sell off and see a downward trend. And that's what I'm hoping doesn't happen, but we're prepared for that. We're in good shape if that were to happen. Let me switch from the S&P here to the Dow. You can see things are, we've had this nice uptrend, a little bit of a pullback, nice steady uptrend, and now right around this level of resistance. This is kind of a visual level of resistance more than anything mathematical, but right around that visual level of resistance, we're starting to flatten a little bit. The Dow was down just a fraction yesterday, down just a tiny bit today. So we'll see if we get that continued flattening. I think what'll happen is when the CPI and the PPI reports come, we'll either get this next leg up and start our legitimate push towards matching the all-time highs, or we'll get at least a pullback down to this most visual level of support. I don't think we'll go a lot farther than that, but that's all we need to go. We start to get a push up to the all-time highs, or we start to get a little bit of a dip to the most recent lows. Either one of those will be enough to make that trade profitable. So we're looking good on that. Additionally, we put on a new trade on AMD this morning. This is again for the triple play stuff. And we've got a trade on Oracle for their upcoming earnings. Now, for the spread trade, for the Safe Option Strategies primary members, we also have a longer term trade on Oracle. And let me see if I can, here's the trade. I forgot to duplicate this page, but we've had some success with these recently. They've done really well for us. So we went ahead and did another synthetic collar trade. Sorry, I was stumbling for what trade. We did another synthetic collar trade. Similar to one we did just a couple of weeks ago. A traditional synthetic collar trade is, we buy the long call a little ways out in time. We get a short call, nearer term, higher strike price, and then we add a long put. We did like we did a couple of weeks ago, and instead of just adding a long put, we added a bear put spread. It's no different than when you have a collar spread, a regular traditional collar trade, and instead of just protecting it with a long put, you protect it with a bear put spread. A little less risk in the bear put spread, maybe not as much reward if you get a sustained long-term downward movement or a really, really major sell-off. So, we do have to be a little bit careful on that. We're not quite the kind of protection as if we just had the long puts, but it's a less expensive trade. And I did it this way because my expectation is that we're going to see Oracle have a good report and move to the upside. So that's the reason I set it up this way. So all in all, looking really, really good. For the remainder of this week, besides watching the CPI and the PPI reports really closely, we are very likely going to begin adjusting some collar trades and making some changes to some collar trades. We've got a number of collar trades that have long puts that expire at the end of next week. We don't want to go, unless we're in the money already, we don't want to go deep. Let me rephrase it. We don't want to get too much closer to the expiration of those long puts before we make an adjustment to them. So we're going to start doing that. Probably a couple of collar trade adjustments tonight, probably a couple more tomorrow night. So that's it. Kind of I know this is not a lengthy podcast. Doesn't need to be a lengthy podcast this morning. We've got everything I think is looking good and running, very well right now. Phenomenal returns on our spread trades, phenomenal returns on our collar trades. I made mention of this on Discord. I did get out of AMD yesterday. If you did not get that notification and you're still in AMD, take the profit and get out. You should be looking with AMD up a little bit this morning. They're up about 75 cents a share right now. With AMD up this morning, you should be looking at 35 to 40% return. So go ahead and exit that trade for sure. Palantir, NVIDIA, both looking good. NVIDIA up a little bit today. Palantir started down, but now is up a little bit today. And then our CoreWeave trade, giving back a little bit today, but still these option numbers are wrong because it's still a good profitable trade. I don't know why. I have to refresh that. That's way off right now. We're not down 85% on the spread. I promise you one of these numbers is in there wrong, or there was just a momentary jump in one of those numbers that's not very realistic. But we're looking good overall on CoreWeave. They're giving back a little bit today. They're down about $10 a share, but we're so deep in there. That's more accurate right there. Not ready to take profit on CoreWeave yet. We might make another adjustment to it this morning. And then our Amazon trade up a little bit. Our CrowdStrike trade down a little bit, but not too bad. We'll probably make an adjustment to this one in the upcoming day or two if we don't see a big move to the upside really soon on CrowdStrike. So although our long puts on CrowdStrike are still nicely in the money, so we're still making profit overall on the not a lot, but we're a little bit profitable on the put side of the trade. So we'll leave it where it's at for right now, see how that goes. Like I said, everything else looking great. Expect to have a good rest of the week, and have a good rest of your Tuesday. I'm going to sign off right there. Have a good rest of your Tuesday, and we'll be back to talk about CPI numbers tomorrow morning. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.